and you're all very welcome back here to the Galway Film Fleadh, to this afternoon's screening of Softie. I hope you all enjoyed the film that you just watched very much, and it's my honor to be joined by the director, Sam Soko, and producer, Toni Kamau, here to tell us more about the film. Hi, guys.
Hey.
How are you both keeping?
So far, so good, right?
Good.
Yeah, we just did a training workshop actually earlier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
For some Kenyan.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
East African filmmakers.
Well, I want to get into all of that. I might circle back around to it. But I suppose first, I'd like to start at the beginning of the journey for the film and talk a little bit about, meeting Boniface. And am I right in saying, Sam, that you guys were sort of in the same activist circles in Kenya? Is that how you got to know each other?
More or less in the same, like literally shared the same space. And we kind of, the idea at the beginning was to do like a 5-minute video that was meant to be like an activist manual, because Boniface is probably the most audacious, notorious activist in Kenya. So he used to do this crazy protests, and we were like, how about we package this for 5 minutes and inspire people who want to do protests? And that's how it started out, which is 7 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
and when did you? So when did you did this film Softie start to come to fruition? Was it did you have an idea to tell a film about the corruption that we saw Boniface fighting, or did the story come from him as a person? Because it's a very personable film as well as being a political documentary.
So I think the film kind of organically became what it is after like 2 years. Because initially, again, because it was supposed to be this short, funky, nice thing that you could share with your friends and tell your friends or people who kind of want to be in a space of active citizenship. But I think over time, it kind of evolved into being a story that's beyond Boniface and beyond his space. It became a story about a country and a family. And it became something like I think most of us kind of ask ourselves in terms of what comes first in certain decisions that we want to make. In his cases, between country and family. In other cases, might be I really want to do this for my family, but I have this aspiration that I want to follow. So it organically became that. And I think around 2016, early 2016, it kind of full blown became this, okay, we're making this film. How do we do it? And what do we need to make it happen?
Cool. And Toni, is that where you came in as the producer who makes it all happen?
Yeah, so actually I came in after most of principal photography had actually been complete. So I came on board at the end of 2017, but I knew about the project for a whole year because Soko had been talking to me about it for about a year before then, and I was looking at the progress, and he had such amazing access and just this treasure trove of material, because every time we talked, he was like, and I have this, and I have that, and I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing, because I mean, Boniface is one of the most highly documented people in our country because of his activism. Like New York Times has done a piece on him, like everyone has done a piece on him. He's done TED Talks, but Soko had such amazing footage that just gave this insight into this kind of larger than life character who is, I feel, misunderstood for so many different reasons. So yeah, when I saw that, I was just like, this is amazing. Like, I have to get on board. So we got on board towards the end of 2017. And then we pitched at Hot Docs Forum in Toronto at the beginning of 2018. And then from there, it was just this roller coaster ride where the team became bigger and bigger and bigger. And we ended up at Sundance, first Kenyan production to premiere there, first Kenyan directed and produced feature documentary to premiere at Sundance. And yeah, I think it's just been an incredible experience being part of this project. So,
Yeah.
Congratulations. That really is amazing. To think that it's, the first Kenyan documentary at Sundance, and it was 2020. That's incredible. And a testament to you guys. And what you were saying about access is so true. Boniface is such a celebrated figure, but this feels like the definitive, I feel, portrait of him. And I think it's down to the wonderful access you guys had. But maybe you can tell us a bit about, from the production standpoint of, did you have to take certain precautions, for example, when you're filming his activism? Because at the end of the day, you were tackling, corruption. His family had to move to the US. Was there trouble? Did you have to safeguard yourselves in the making of the film?
Yes, but I think at the beginning there was a kind of naivety that we were moving along with, and I think that the adrenaline, the experience, and the idea of like what you're doing is bigger than you in a sense, and because from I think I've been arrested once because they while we were filming, and a camera's been broken, lenses have been stolen. Like we've had that whole experience, but over and above that, I think over time we kind of had to be cognizant of, for us to make sure that this film sees the light of day, we have to take certain precautions. So there was, we went through, thanks to one of our founders, Doc Society, we went through like a security training, and kind of like, so myself and one of the directors of photography and one of the camera guys that we were working with went through the training to like, this is how we can take care of ourselves, particularly because we were going deep into a campaign, an election campaign, which is totally crazy in its own right. But then also in terms of data security and in terms of personal safety, so that there was, and that kind of became information that was added onto us, but proved so beneficial at the end of the day. And we're super, super happy that eventually we did manage to finish the film, and people are finally experiencing our experience as well.
Yeah, and now that it is getting out into the world, are you facing any blowback in Kenya, or is it sort of, well, it's out there now and it's too late to do anything about it?
Yeah.
It's not been seen yet in Kenya, but we are keen on bringing it back home. Actually, our plan was to do a premiere in theaters in June, but because of the current situation, that's not possible. But we are definitely very keen on bringing it back home. We feel that, I think, just because of this global events and how this COVID-19 situation is putting a lot of democracies to the test, we kind of feel like it's probably going to be a more receptive environment, at least from the general public. Just in terms of like the themes that Boniface is talking about, which is corruption, which is active citizenship, which is, balancing family versus country. All over the world, it's become quite apparent that, the personal is political and the political is personal, and you cannot separate those two things. So we just feel like it's such an absolutely fantastic time to be bringing it back home.
Yeah, you're dead right. I think it's taken on a whole new relevance, not just because of COVID-19, but obviously the Black Lives Matter movement that's kind of been, sweeping, not just in the US, but internationally. When you look at Boniface's activism, the fight against corruption, like you said, it's so relevant now. And I'm so grateful to you guys as well for allowing it to premiere at this time, in what I imagine wasn't a lot of filmmakers' first preference, for a way to premiere a movie, but I think it is important that it gets out there now. Maybe, I wonder, could you give us, is there any update to share about Boniface and his family from where you left it at the film?
So the film, like where we left it at the film is at the point of them working on first their relationship as a marriage, and then his relationship with his children as a father, and then now him figuring out what he does want to do in an activist political space, moving forward. And I think the last few years, including the COVID times of quarantine, has really brought the family together.
Of course.
in a way. And I was actually talking to Tunjeri, and she was saying she's had a very different experience during this COVID times because they've never had as much of Boniface in close proximity for as long as they have. And they're doing well. I would say that, like, they're again, but I think he's thinking about running again.
Wow.
So, but I think this time he's trying to do it right, like probably engaging her more and just talking to her and just knowing where they are as a family and if it's something they want to do, which I think is a super plus. And I'm really happy that the film, over and above being an experience for people around the world and a story that people can engage in with different spaces, was a space for them to engage about their own relationships as a family, which I also find, I think, is important in films as well, to have the subjects of the film also have a way in which they're engaging with the film beyond how the audience engages with the film.
Absolutely. And I saw, I think Njeri and the kids accompanied you guys to the premiere in Sundance.
Yes.
Am I right? How does she feel about the film now that, you know, because subjects don't always enjoy seeing themselves, you know, in a certain light.
It was incredible. The first time they watched, so I showed them the film right before Sundance, and it was just the two of them, and they were watching things. So one party was watching things that the other party had never seen before, and the other way, vice versa. And it was incredible, just them going through the waves of emotion. And I was telling Tony this, that when there are points where I'd see them holding hands, and then there were points where they were like, you know, don't touch me. And then there were points, but at the end of it, I think they celebrated the honesty in which we told the story. Like they appreciated the fact that we saw them, and they were like, this is their lives, and they were happy that we respected that aspect of them sharing their lives. And Sundance was incredible. Like the kids, you know, the kids were asking questions and asking for promises that, you know, have never been kept. What's going down? We've never gone back to the skating ring. When are we going? And then it was incredible.
Yeah, and you guys, you did an amazing job with the honest portrayal. You know, I think it's part of the reason it's so powerful. Maybe we can circle back to something you touched on at the beginning, Toni, which was you know, you talked about being about pitching projects just before you guys logged on. What's it like working in the industry in Kenya at the moment? I know this film benefited from, you mentioned being at the Hot Docs Forum and stuff. I know here in Ireland we have to do a lot of co-production at the moment to get films off the ground. Is it similar over there?
We have a very different environment in Kenya. You're quite fortunate that you're able to do co-productions because it's a struggle. We don't have any treaties yet with countries where we can actually do co-productions. There's very little government funding for our projects, and even if there was, our project is not the kind of project that would actually get any sort of funding from the government.
Yeah.
I mean, it's critical about some things that affect Kenyans that have been done by people who are in positions of power. So, I mean, to get a project off the ground is quite difficult. A lot of times it's self-financed just to do development. Because we don't really have that much development funding. We have been so fortunate that we've actually managed to raise the entire amount of our production budget, because that rarely happens in situations where you don't have public funding. But we've had such amazing partners like Ford Foundation came on board at the manual stage.
At the manual stage, yeah.
Give some seed funding. We had Sundance, Hot Docs has been such an incredible partner. You know, POV is on board as a co-producer. A lot of the partners that we got actually came out of the Hot Docs Forum pitching event, which is really important and necessary for producers from our part of the world and filmmakers from our part of the world. And we also got some funding from a Kenyan fund called DocuBox.
Box, yeah, and Doc Society as well.
Society, who are amazing. They've been EPs on the project. Sandra, Jess, have been such amazing cheerleaders of this project from very, very early on. So I think it's mostly, unfortunately, at this point, international grants and sometimes public broadcasters. That's how you get these kind of social justice projects.
Like international public broadcasters.
International, sorry.
Local broadcasters get very scared sometimes to engage in some of the projects. But it's interesting, as part of our plan to share the film in Kenya is engage some of those local public broadcasters and see
Oh, wow. Yeah. You can do it. You can change their minds one film at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And did any of these, these new partners that you brought along the way from internationally, apart from funding, was there creative input as well that you found helped? Did you have to push back at any point as well?
So something that's really interesting in terms of our growth is through the Hot Docs partnership, for example, we met a Canadian production company called I Steal Film, whom we heavily collaborated when it comes to post-production. So in terms of editing, there was myself, there was Mila Ontwing, and then there's Ryan Mullins. So we worked together in crafting the edit. And the beauty of that was the need to make this universal story kind of necessitated having this different voices, because I have a Kenyan perspective, an African perspective, in which a lot of context is known to me that may not be known to the outside world. And they have that other angle as well coming from North America, for example. So us working together, the synergy really helped create this film that can be appreciated outside Kenya, but also appreciated in Kenya. And that's something that we truly benefited from at the end of the day.
Sure. You touched on there, when you were talking about the local broadcasters and the sort of reluctance to take on social justice projects. Do you see yourself as a social justice filmmaker primarily? Or I guess when you're looking at future projects, is there something different that you have your eye on?
So I think I see myself, and Toni can say, but I think she is too. We see ourselves as active citizens in the sense of that we want to do something to change hearts and minds to make the world better. It's not necessarily only tied to film. It can be on platforms that we have, like this one. It can be in stuff we write over and above the films we make. Because making films is just one part of engaging people. There's so many other angles in which we can engage people. So, but I want to make many kinds of films. I want to make happy films that people relax to. I want to make films but at it all, I still see myself and will continue and will strive to continue to be an active citizen in raising the dignity of our people and of humanity.
Yeah, I think the reason why our working relationship was so great, especially for this project, is that we do have shared values and beliefs about the power of story, to change hearts and minds and maybe spark, the mind that might change the world, which is why we're just both in this business. And I'm very interested in, factual storytelling, the power of people's lived realities and, to be able to find universal themes through that. So very, very passionate about documentaries, but in all shapes and forms and sizes, and also interested in doing documentary series and collaborating with filmmakers and producers from across the world, not just to do films in Africa, but just to talk about shared human condition that we have. Yeah, because I don't think there's anything more amazing than that, to be honest.
It would be great. It would be great to come to Ireland and just make a film in Ireland and be like,
I think so too.
This is how we see your world in our eyes, and that would be beautiful. And that's something that's we would just want to make beautiful stuff.
Well, yeah, that's a very noble goal. I hope you guys can come here, maybe for a future festival, if not this time around. And thank you so much again for sharing your film with us today. I know that for the first time this year, our festival is broadcasting nationally instead of just here in Galway. So I think we'll have an audience tuning in from all over that's enjoyed the film today. Yeah. And thanks again for sharing with us. And thanks for talking to me today. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Best of luck with the film.
Thank you so much.